This is the medication that I ended up having to get from the pharmacy.
Medication that costs almost $8,000 per vial.
I thought to myself, wow, am I ever glad I'm a Canadian? Am I ever glad that I don't have to put out of pocket for this?
The price was surprising enough until Deb Hebert had the drug injected by a nurse and realized her dose only required about 3/4 of what was in the vial. The rest was thrown out and a new vial opened the next day for her second dose. The remainder of that one thrown out too. Hebert is on leave from her job in finance at CBC while she battles non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. This researcher says millions of dollars worth of cancer drugs are being wasted because drug makers only distribute the medications in one-size-fits-all vials that hold too much for most patients. Leftovers are often tossed over concerns about sharing vials and a short shelf life.
So when we give cancer treatment, and that's either intravenous or as an injection under the skin, we're generally calculating a very precise dose based on a person's height and weight. The problem arises when we're actually purchasing that treatment from the manufacturer. The dose that we purchase is often in a single dose vial. So as an example, if I just use this vial here, and we have a fixed amount of, say, 100 milligrams in that vial, and we only calculate precisely that we're going to use 50 milligrams of it, then automatically the remaining 50 milligrams is going to be wasted. And what people don't realize is that wastage is actually a real cost that's borne by probably the provinces or hospitals or ultimately the taxpayers.
He worked on a study that looked at 12 high-priced injectable cancer drugs. It found $102 million worth of medication is being wasted over a 3-year period. One solution, says this drug policy researcher, is to force drug makers to produce different vial sizes to reduce waste. The UK did that 4 years ago and is now saving millions a year in drug costs.
My perspective, as a taxpayer, you think the payers are paying hundreds of millions of dollars for these drugs. They have a lot of leverage and they should be able to demand the kind of sizes of the drugs that they typically use to avoid this kind of waste. And I think that unless they're playing hardball with the companies, this kind of waste is going to probably continue. I think it's outrageous. It's appalling that, again, we have so many demands on our healthcare dollars for drugs and doctors and hospitals and so on. To see this kind of waste that could be hundreds of millions of dollars a year, it seemed to be quite outrageous.
But the Pan-Canadian Pharmaceutical Alliance won't say if it does that, only that negotiations are confidential at the request of the manufacturer. Sanofi, which makes Hebert's medication, says it sells the drugs in one vial size because it's a typical dose for the majority of the patient population when you take spillage into account. Rosa Marcatelli, CBC News, Calgary.